Hi there, medical wildcats. I'm Joseph Guggenheim. I'm a 1972 alum of the medical school. And this month, my topic is Ray Kroc and the McDonald's empire. Ray was a native of the Chicago area, and he revolutionized the fast food industry. It's appropriate that we do this subject in August because National Burger Day is August 22nd. This is a day of commemoration that started in the UK, and it's always the Thursday before the last Monday in August, which is a British bank holiday. National Hamburger Day is a day of commemoration that originated in the United States, and it is on May 28th each year. Let's look at the history of the hamburger. In first century Rome, ground beef was mixed with pine nuts, peppers, wine, and garum. Nothing happened in the history of hamburgers for about 1,200 years until the 13th century, when Mongol horsemen carried thick slabs of beef tucked under their saddles to tenderize them during the day of riding. Beef marinated in horse sweat does not sound very appetizing to me, but it could easily be consumed later in the day by the rider. And you can see on the right the picture of the cordless Mongol meat tenderizer with a 1-horsepower motor. By 1802, the Oxford English Dictionary defined hamburger steak as minced salted beef, slightly smoked and mixed with onions and breadcrumbs. A cookbook in 1847 described a smoked sausage made with ground beef, salt, pepper, spices, and red wine. Immigrants came from Hamburg, Germany to New York City in the first half of the 19th century, and they were hungry for the cuisine they left behind. So New York City's restaurants started offering a beefsteak dish. A New York physician, Dr. James H. Salisbury, suggested that a diet high in meat and low in fruits, vegetables, and starchy foods might be healthy. He proposed a diet of ground beef to be eaten 3 times a day, along with hot water or coffee to clear the digestive system. He said the human dentition indicated that humans were designed to be meat eaters. The Salisbury steak, his namesake, was ground beef flavored with onions and seasoned and covered with brown gravy and sauce, evoking memories of my elementary school cafeteria. Salisbury steak became a staple in school cafeterias everywhere and retirement homes. The transition of the hamburger from a plate to a bun occurred sometime in the late 19th century, but the actual date and the site of transformation is unknown. Burger on a bun received a large audience in the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, along with other innovations, including the ice cream cone, cotton candy, and peanut butter. Fast food restaurants opened in 1921. In Wichita, Kansas, Walt Anderson, a cook, and Billy Ingram, an entrepreneur, opened their first restaurant in 1921, calling it the White Castle. They introduced a new design and cooking and methods of serving. Their slogan was "Buy and by the sack," popularizing carryout, and this was the beginning of fast food. You can see one of their early restaurants here on the right, hamburgers 5 cents, and Mr. Anderson's name over the door, and the "Buy and by the sack" slogan over the window. White Castles emphasized cleanliness with stainless steel interiors and uniforms for employees. They kept the prices low. Burgers sold for 5 cents in 1929 and 10 cents until 1949. Their square hamburgers became known as sliders. They're now located in 13 states. They continue as a private company and do not offer franchises. Cartoon character J. Wellington Wimpy was introduced in the Popeye cartoon series in 1931 by E.C. Seeger. Wimpy became famous for his voracious appetite for hamburgers. He would mooch hamburgers in lodging, pick up discarded cigar butts, and he feigned high social status and a college degree. He introduced many elementary economics students to the theory of the time value of money, as he said, "I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today." Wimpy's is now an international food chain. So let's meet Ray Kroc, who developed McDonald's, although he did not invent it. Ray never went to college. He never finished high school. His mother immigrated from Austria and his father from Czechoslovakia, and he did not get in the McDonald's business until he was age 52. McDonald's is now the second largest employer in the world, second only to Walmart. Ray drove a Red Cross ambulance in the World War I at age 15. He lied about his age in order to enlist. As an ambulance driver, he met a friend named Walt Disney. He returned home to finish high school. Again, he dropped out and became a traveling salesman. After the war, he worked as a piano player. He was apparently a talented musician, musical director, and a real estate salesman. He was a salesman by day, but he played the piano live on the air at radio station WTAY in Oak Park at night. He met a singing duo there, Sam and Henry. He said they were lousy singers, but they had potential as a comedy act, and they became known as Amos and Andy, two white men portraying black men on a radio show. Ray married Ethel Fleming in 1922 and divorced her in 1961. Her father forbade the marriage until Kroc landed proper employment. Their first house was in Arlington Heights near the country club, and he sold franchises to his golfing buddies. As a traveling salesman, he visited inexpensive restaurants throughout the United States. He sold restaurant products including paper cups and these milkshake mixers, the multi-mixer. The multi-mixer could make several milkshakes simultaneously, and the motor would not burn out, unlike previous brands. The McDonald brothers were part of a family that lived in Manchester, New Hampshire. Their parents were poor Irish immigrants. Their father lost his job at age 42 in New Hampshire at a shoe factory because the boss said he was too old. So the brothers wanted to become financially independent. They moved to California. During the Depression, they buried silver in their backyard as a hedge against bank failure. During the Depression, they saw how their only friend who seemed to be making money was operating a root beer stand. So in 1940, they opened a drive-in restaurant to appeal to a new generation of car owners. Eating out at that time was considered a sign of affluence. They initially sold barbecue, but this was labor intensive. So in 1948, they reinvented their restaurant with only 9 items on the menu. Substitutions were not allowed. Car hops and dishwashers were eliminated by using disposable paper cups and plates. Their building had to be immaculate, and the staff was all male. They believed that female employees were distracting. They kept the prices low: burger for 15 cents, bag of fries for 10 cents, and a milkshake for 20 cents. Ray met Dick and Mac McDonald at their restaurant in San Bernardino, California in 1954. This was when he was 52. He was impressed by their simplicity and efficiency. He noticed the brothers had eliminated china, waitstaff, extensive menus, and other amenities in order to keep expenses down. And their restaurants were sparkling clean. They had adopted Henry Ford's assembly line method. He made a deal with the brothers to franchise their business throughout the country for a cut in the profits. The first franchise McDonald in Illinois opened in 1955. However, he quarreled with the McDonald brothers and bought them out, including the name and the Golden Arch logo, for $2.7 million in 1961. This would be worth approximately $28.4 million today. He wanted to use the name McDonald's, believing that the name Croc's would not be appealing. He also said that every child was familiar with the old McDonald nursery rhyme and would remember the name. His franchise office was headquartered at the LaSalle Wacker building at 121 West Wacker Drive, and this building still stands. The elevator operator, when he reached the McDonald's floor, would announce that the riders were in hamburger heaven. Ray's first franchise was in Des Plaines, Illinois in 1955. He divorced his wife Ethel in 1961 and began to spend time at the Whitehall Hotel on East Delaware Place, in the neighbor of our medical school. At the Whitehall, he met chef Rene Arendt, who later created Chicken McNuggets. He thought about opening other facilities, including upscale hamburger restaurants, which he was going to name Raymond's, German tavern restaurants, pie shops, a theme park, and even a hotel for dogs, but none of these ever came to fruition. He purchased property and then would lease it to franchisees. So he made money from the franchisee as well as from the customer. He focused on expanding in the suburban areas, which often irritated some of his customers. and he had strict guidelines for food preparation and portion control. The company needed a visible mascot. The McDonald brothers had previously used Speedy. Speedy never caught on very much outside the store and in print. Customers could not figure out whether Speedy was a chef or a burger, and they also confused him with the Alka-Seltzer logo, Speedy. Ronald McDonald appeared. It started out as a 25-year-old Willard Scott. Scott was later the weatherman on NBC's Today Show. He was sent off to clown school in Washington, D.C. by the TV station WRC and was taught how to act like a clown with the right makeup, talk, suiting up, and improvisation. From 1959 to 62, he had his own local TV show in Washington, and he also did personal appearances. The television show was canceled, but Scott reinvented the character by putting a McDonald's takeout tray on his head and a cuff on his nose. He thought hamburgers and clowns were irresistible to children. The ad agency for McDonald's proposed naming him Archie McDonald, Archie for the Golden Arches, but that was the name of a local sportscaster. So he came up with the idea himself of a rhyming name, Ronald McDonald. Soon sales soared, and professional circus clown Michael Poliakoff was hired in 1966 to redesign Ronald, giving him his current makeup and costume. There have been many others who have portrayed Ronald since then. The company started Hamburger University in 1961. It was begun by grill cook Fred Turner, who rose to the position of CEO. And this was designed to teach restaurant operators the McDonald's method. It began in the basement of the Elk Grove Village McDonald's, later moved to Ray's hometown of Oak Brook, and the first class had 15 graduates. They granted a degree in hamburgerology with a minor in French fries. They now operate a 130,000 square foot facility in Chicago and 7 more around the world. They accept less than 1% of the applicants. Ray remarried after his divorce. He married Jane Dobbins Green in 1963, and that marriage lasted 5 years. Many thought she resembled Doris Day. Ray had known her for only 3 weeks when they married. They moved to Beverly Hills, and she was the secretary for the Stars. McDonald's became a public company in 1965, and the stock opened at $22.50 a share. By the end of the year, it had risen to $49, and Ray had become an instant multimillionaire. In the 1950s, he met Joan at a supper club where she played the organ. Remember, he married his second wife in 1963, so he had actually met his third wife before he married his second wife. Joan and he married in 1969. He was 26 years older than Joan. They lived in the top 2 floors, 2242 North Lakeshore Drive. Their unit featured a built-in organ and a piano because they were both musicians, and they had a state-of-the-art air filtration system because they both smoked. McDonald's was often criticized for the poor nutritional value and high fat content of their food, environmental effect of the styrofoam, and neon signs, especially near residential areas, and even the breakdown of society caused by eating on the run. How evil. Franchisees were encouraged to counter the negative publicity by sponsoring neighborhood sports teams and responding to disasters. Ray started giving to charitable organizations, especially those that focused on children, such as zoos, hospitals, and planetariums. His advisors urged him to establish a charitable foundation, which he did, and this was overseen by his brother Robert, a PhD from the University of Wisconsin. Ray favored research on diseases affecting his family members, including diabetes and arthritis, which he had, and multiple sclerosis. Robert, PhD, did not want the foundation to seem like a tax loophole for the company. In 1972, in honor of Ray's 70th birthday, a donation was made to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, which opened that year. In 1975, Ray and Joan donated $10 million to the Old Children's Memorial Hospital in Fullerton. A 3-story wing was opened in 1979, and it was named the Joan and Ray A. Kroc Diagnostic and Treatment Centers, containing operating rooms, radiology, laboratories, and emergency room. Ronald McDonald House had its first facility opening in 1974 in Philadelphia. 3-year-old Kim Hill, pictured on the right, was the daughter of Philadelphia Eagles tight end Fred Hill. Kim developed leukemia and was hospitalized for long periods. Her parents and other families were sleeping in the lobby at the hospital and in cars in the parking lot and eating from vending machines. Hill rallied his teammates and the team manager to build a place to serve as a temporary residence for patients' families while their children were being hospitalized. McDonald's owners and operators in the Philadelphia area donated proceeds from the sales of Shamrock Shakes to the cause. Joan donated McDonald's stock worth $60 million in 1993. This was after Ray's death, and another $50 million in 1995. Today, there are more than 380 Ronald McDonald houses in 64 countries. Ray retired from McDonald's in 1973 at the age of 71 and decided to return to baseball, his favorite sport. He heard the San Diego Padres were for sale. A grocer magnate, Joseph Danzaski, had conditionally bought the team and planned to move it to Washington, D.C. Ray bought the team for $12 million in 1974 and pledged to keep the team in San Diego. During the 1974 home opener against the Houston Astros, the Padres fell behind 6-1 in the 4th inning. And in the 8th inning, Ray grabbed the microphone and announced to the crowd of almost 40,000, "I've never seen such stupid ball playing in my life." The crowd cheered because, not because of what Ray had said, but because there was a streaker running down the third baseline, which Ray could not see. Joan sold the Padres after Ray's death in 1987. After his death, which occurred in 1984, she donated to many causes which she favored: the Ethiopian famine relief, hospice care, alcoholism education and addiction treatment, centered at Dartmouth, Salvation Army, which received $2 billion from her, and NPR Radio, which received $250 million. She also donated to the Democratic Party. There's a connection between Northwestern and the Egg McMuffin. On the right, you see a picture of Cliff Messina. Mr. Cliff Messina was the father of Greg Messina, a 1976 dental school graduate of our university. He was the COO of Northern Illinois McDonald's franchises. And one morning at McDonald's, Cliff made himself a breakfast of a toasted English muffin, fried egg, Canadian bacon, and cheese. Some operators from the San Diego area visited one morning, and he made them all similar sandwiches. And they took the idea back to the McDonald's Corporation. Cliff's breakfast sandwich eventually became the Egg McMuffin. Here's a trivia question for you. Who wrote "You Deserve a Break Today"? Most people think it was Barry Manilow, but it was not. Manilow often sang it in a medley for a stage act, including some of the jingles he wrote and some he did not. He did not write this one, and he also did not write the Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, or Jack in the Box jingles, which he sometimes performed. "You Deserve a Break Today" was written by the advertising agency that had the McDonald's account, Sidney Wolishan, Keith Reinhardt, and Walter Pfaff. "You Deserve a Break Today" debuted in 1971. Advertising Age magazine awarded it the top jingle of the century in year 2000. The original lyrics were, "We're so near and far away," instead of "You Deserve a Break Today." But this jingle resembled another restaurant in the area, so they abandoned it and changed it to "You Deserve a Break Today." McDonald's is currently a huge industry worldwide. There are over 38,000 locations in over 100 countries. They employ 1.9 million people. They feed more people. They make more meals daily than the U.S. military. They feed 68 million customers worldwide a day. They currently do research on packaging, environmental protection, sustainability of seafood supply, and the reduction of deforestation. I'd like to thank Dr. Greg Messina and Ms. Katie Littall for their assistance with this presentation. So let's get together again next month virtually. In the meantime, stay safe, healthy, and connected with each other. And I look forward to our virtual meeting next month.